Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Welcome to week 8. Here we are going to talk about the challenges to sustainable development. So you can see that we talked about the concept of sustainable development. We talked about many issues. We talked about many principles and also practices. We also talked about the roles that local government should do, local institute should do, the international government should do, international institute should do. Also, last week we talked about the university role in academia. As an academic institute, what university should do and what student all of you should do. So now we understood what is sustainable development, we understood the agenda, we understood what are the issues in this and what could be the problems and what could be the solutions. We also understand, we learn what are the solutions to stop these problems that comes under the sustainable development. But now we are thinking about, what kind of challenges you may have. All right, so we understood how you go to a place and then what are the issues in reaching that destination, and so you understood, okay, this is the way you want to, if you want to reach that destination, this is the way you will use it so that you will reach the destination. But now you are ready to go to that destination, but what are the challenges you may have on the way until you reach the destination? So this is what we are going to talk about it this week. Challenges in social aspect, challenges in economic aspect, challenges in environmental aspect. So I think most probably the class will cover everything that we discussed so far, but it will give you in perspective that you are going to think about what are the challenges that the challenges means also opportunities. Yeah, challenges comes together with opportunities, so that opportunity you have to know how to convert these challenges into something that what we call opportunities, so that you can actually overcome the issues. So three aspects are there. So this time we are just using this Google slide directly. Yeah, there is no near port this time. So this is the environmental issues, challenges. Then you have social, then you have economic. Similarly, I show you already this slide before. You can see two aspect comes together, then you will have this sustainable, natural and built environment. Then you have here sustainable economic development, and then you have here an equitable social environment. And then here also, this is important, one of the important slide on your left, you can see that what are the unsustainable development that we are having. For example, in economic sector, you have this growth based on unsustainable debt. There is a country, there are buildings, there are bridges, they have bridges and buildings, and people are having a luxury life, but the government keep on applying for debt. So if you look into the country, according to the World Bank, the report, it says that this country has to pay billions and billions of dollars. So it brings not the economic growth, it is actually bringing the debt. And then you have the waste, and then you have the inequitable consumption by the elite. So you can see that a group of people, they just waste, and then they do the consumption, that consumption can be equivalent to the entire nation, but this time only this small group is actually consuming that much. This is the economic unsustainable problems. Then you have the unethical social values like greed, selfishness, even corruptions, yeah, Rashwa, all these, inequity, violence, injustice, all these actually comes under the unsustainable development of social aspect. Then you have the unsustainable development of environmental aspect, you have the unsustainable pollutions. We need this technology, we need this development, but we cannot stop the pollution, right? Countries like 50 to 52 percentage of air pollution comes from one certain country. That country cannot stop. Even in order to get them signed in the petition, it is not that easy job to do. I think recently America agreed that they will reduce the carbon emission from 52 to 50. How is that going to help? I don't know, but maybe it might help slowly, small. But the thing is, it's not that easy for them to stop. They cannot simply close down all the factories. It will create chaos in the society. The people will lose jobs, and then the government will become responsible for for giving them the roof and the for sustenance and the food and everything. So that's the reason why government has to carefully take actions. They cannot simply close down everything. It has to do gradually, slowly, one step, another step, one small baby step, what we call it. So this is all challenges. We talked about it, we understood how difficult it is, but in the real world, it's not that easy to stop everything. That's because we so far enjoying, indirectly we are enjoying the advantage of those unsustainability. Do you want me to tell you how? The thing I'm saying, we are indirectly enjoying the fruits of those unsustainability. For example, you know the way that you travel from place A to place B in 5 minutes, usually it take 3 to 5 hours. So very long time ago, now it takes only 5 minutes. The way that you communicate to your family and your friends within a second, your I'm talking about your telecommunication technology, your food processing technology. You can keep something today until you can keep it next week also, you can eat the same thing. So we have this refrigerator system. So whether it is the food processing system or telecommunication system or automobile system, or whatever that today we have, whatever that we have today, what we call modern life, which indirectly you and me, enjoying the rewards and the advantage of those modern world, and we also becoming the reason why those unsustainable developments are happening. So I need to start from me. If I tell stop the factory, if I want to tell stop cutting tree, if I want to tell stop the pollution, will I tell myself stop using this handphone? Will I tell myself stop using petrol? Will I tell myself stop using electricity? This is the problem, because electricity that we are using, it comes from carbon emission. Because it need energy to produce electricity. And how do you produce electricity? Most of the time it's not comes from solar. Solar is maybe 0.0005 percentage. The entire world is using fossil fuel to produce electricity, or nuclear bomb, they are using it for producing electricity. So starting from the electricity, the very what today it became necessity, because without it, how am I supposed to, you and me, going to talk? How am I supposed to communicate without the electricity, right? So the battery, if we talk about the battery itself, another issue also will bring another issue. Today we are talking about EV, electric vehicles. So governments are ready to subsidize so that you can have it with less taxes. The tax is going to be exempted if you want to buy electric vehicles. But again, what will happen in near future, there will be more batteries. The batteries will be produced, and then when the batteries cannot be used, then it becomes a e-waste, electric waste. See, for every simple conversion, for every simple alternative, there is also problems, but that problem is not compared to this problem. That problem is not that big. That's why, they want to go for it. So these are the challenges. I hope you understand. These are the challenges. So now on your right side, you will see that, few solutions, like for example, if it is economic aspect, you have zakat, sadaqah, takaful, waqf, endowment, prohibition of riba, inheritance. These are the things what actually uh, our sharia is based on these things. But how much we believe in it? As a Muslim, I pray. As a Muslim, I do fasting. As a Muslim, I pay zakat. But there is a difference. As a mu'min, there is a difference between being Muslim and being mu'min. As a mu'min, how much I am believing in this? Do I believe in zakat? I do zakat? I pay sadaqah. Do I believe in sadaqah? I pray, I perform prayers. Do I believe in prayers? When I pray, do I believe that all my problems will be solved by this prayer? If I have that thinking in my prayer, when I say Allahu Akbar, I am talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it happening now? No, it's not happening. When I pray, when I say Allahu Akbar, all my thoughts come back. Everything that I forgot, I remember when I pray. It's happening to you also, isn't it? That's the reason why there are 5 types of performers, according to Ibn Qayyim. There are 5 types of prayers. The one who perform prayers. The first one will be, the one who pray sometimes, don't pray sometimes, who pray but do not complete wudu. So these are the prayers. Even though they pray, they performing prayer, but they have to answer to Allah. They will be punished. Those who do not pray at all, of course, we don't have any issues. They will be punished. But those who pray, they will be also punished. Those who pray, but they play in their prayers. They are not constantly praying. They pray sometimes. They leave sometimes. These are the first type. And the second type is actually someone who constantly praying, but not conscious when he is praying. He is not conscious enough when he is praying. So this type of people are questionable. Allah will ask what kind of consciousness that you had when you are praying, why you had this kind of consciousness when you are praying. So Allah will ask questions, and if you have the right answers, then only you will be rewarded or you will not be punished. Number 3, those are the people who are constantly praying, also trying to be conscious. They are trying to be conscious, but they are fighting. When they are trying to be conscious, the shaitan comes in and then disturb them. Suddenly, there is a WhatsApp message comes, and the ringtone comes, and then there's a call comes, there is a notification comes. So thinking always, but trying to be conscious, fighting. So these are the people Allah says they are actually not rewardable, but they are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive their sins because of their fight, because they are fighting in their prayers. Hopefully most of us, inshallah, we are in this, which means that when we are praying, we need to make sure that I'm praying, so that any thought comes, I need to go away, and then I still continue praying. Number 4, those people who constantly praying, who consciously praying, the way that they pray, they think that Allah is watching them. It's like a CCTV. Allah is watching them. Number 5 is the most elegant way of praying, performing praying. The one when they say Allahu Akbar and they start praying, it's like this time they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They watch Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is amazing. This is what the 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 the, the ulama, the scholars, the sahaba, the prophets, they had this kind of prayer. When they pray, they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything comes, they don't, even though you throw stone at them or you throw snakes at them, they won't run away because they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the Prophet said, Al-Ihsan ka'annaka ta'budallaha an ta'budallaha ka'annaka tarahu fa in lam takun tarahu fa innahu yarak. You need to try to pray the way that you are seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you cannot go to that level that you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at least you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching you. He is watching you. So that is the most important thing. So now here, all these all these issues that our Sharia gives us the solutions, whether it is an economic aspect like zakat, sadaqat, takaful, waqaf, whether it is a social aspect, khalifa, mashwara, ukhuwa, whether it is an environmental aspect, khalq, mizan, mizan, this ecological balance, all these, do we do this or do we believe in this? That is the most important questions every one of us should ask ourselves. Am I believe in this? Or am I just doing because my father asked me to do, my mother asked me to do, my ustad asked me to do, my university asked me to do? So this is where every one of us should refine ourselves. We should believe in, I am doing this because I believe in this. Then only we can actually overcome all these issues. So again, the challenges, when we talk about challenges, there are cross-cutting challenges, human resource challenges, financial challenges, governance challenges. These are the material world. The one that I told you earlier, it is a spiritual world. This is the material world. You have all these problems because financially people are corrupted. Governance also become corrupted. Cross-cutting and human resources, we have issues in inequality and all. All these are considered challenges. The key challenges to achieving sustainable development: instability, implementation, and then governance. Then these are the unsustainability and inequity. You have this socio-economic inequity, cultural inequity, societal inequity, familiar inequity, programmatic inequality, instructional inequality, and then linguistic inequality, assessment inequality. You need to understand the difference between inequity and inequality. Inequity is something that you are not giving them the perfect, the proper attention. That is what equity. Equity is something that for example, a father, the way that he treats his elder son and the younger son, he won't treat in the equal. He won't give him equal sustenance, because as you know, the elder one need more sustenance, the younger one might need less sustenance. Similarly goes to father and mother, similarly goes to brothers and sisters. So these are the things what we called equity. The equality is actually when it comes to love, a father should give love equally. A mother should give love equally to her children. There is no differences. This is what we call inequality and inequity. This is some example, like the average African lives on just $2.30 a day, but a cattle in Europe, just a cattle, it could be cow or goat, whatever it is, it draws an average subsidy of $2.20 a day. So this is what we called inequitable. This is inequitable. You are not giving the proper attention. I'm not complaining about this cattle. I'm not complaining this cow. This cow is enjoying a subsidy of $2.20 a day. But look at this human being. Why this human being is not getting more than this? This is what inequitable. I'm trying to play this video, but I'm not sure whether you can hear the voice or not.
Inequality is everywhere.
Can you hear the voice?
It stifles ambition and potential. And when it becomes
So when
Yes, sir.
Yes.
okay, very good. Then I will play the video.
extreme, people can take to the
Maybe
streets.
better if you turn off your
Ultimately,
mic.
it damages
Okay, good.
economies and societies. The concept of human development is all about giving people freedom to decide who they want to be and how they'll live. It involves, among many other things, living a long, healthy life, receiving decent education, and having a decent standard of living. In 2019, Human Development Report studied inequalities in human development, revealing 5 important results. 1. Human development has progressed immensely. Far more people are reaching a minimum standard. There's less extreme poverty and hunger, and greater access to basic education. But progress still needs to be made. 2. Inequality is changing. 30 years ago, there was massive inequality in the most basic aspects of life. Many children didn't survive their first years or have any education. These gaps are closing rapidly, but new types of inequality are emerging fast, while richer populations have much greater access to university education and much better health at older ages. 3. Inequalities start before birth and can widen immensely by the time kids are in school. From then on, these inequalities can grow across lifetimes, driven by deep imbalances in political and economic power. This is evident, for example, in the relative positions of women and men in some countries. 4. We need new ways to measure new inequalities. Dollars and rupees won't always help us understand inequalities in health and education. We must go beyond averages to see the full picture. 5. We must act now to overcome inequalities and design policies that work for every age group. Giving kids early childhood education, for example, will last lifetimes. But governments shouldn't just tackle symptoms. Long-lasting solutions will come from addressing the root causes of inequality, often ingrained in a country's history and culture. That way, we can boost economic growth and reduce inequality at the same time. It's not too late to act.
Okay, that's what we talked about, the inequality. Let's go to the
Inequality is everywhere.
oh, sorry. Okay, so the next one is okay, the next one is what is to be developed and what is to be sustained. Yeah, so you can see here what is to be developed is the people, child survival, life expectancy, education, equal opportunity. When it comes to economy, the wealth, productive sectors. When it comes to society, the institutions, social capital, states, regions. Then the other side, what is to be sustained? The nature must be sustained, the earth and biodiversity, ecosystem. Also, when it comes to economy, the ecosystem resources, the resources must be sustained. Because if you don't sustain the resources, then the wealth will be limited and then restricted to only a little group of people. Then most of the people will suffer because of that. Then you have the community wise, what should be sustained? The culture must be sustained. If you have a community, the culture is actually wasting food, then or the culture itself having problems, like for example, back in India, they have the caste system. The culture itself has a caste system. They have differences, like, you know, there is a people higher rank and lower rank. So these are the cultures need to be sustained, groups and places. Then wait, this already, right? Yeah. Okay. Then these are the sampling of alternative measures of economic and social well-being. I think I leave it to you, because these are the index. If you go through the index, there are so many research has been done. This is where you will understand, you know, how the living planet is, what are the measurement of the GDP, the domestic progress, the environmental. These are the work. Even the happy planet index. You see this? We have genuine progress indicator. One by one, if you click on this, I think one by one, it will take you to that website. Okay, next, let's go and talk about the social, particularly the social challenges for sustainable development. Now coming back to our country, has Malaysian society been living sustainably before? Anything unsustainable about current way of living? So this is engagement questions. I want you to ask yourself and think about the answers. So far, you saw the way that we talked. There's a social aspect. Where do you think that that sustainability was there in our lifetime, and where do you think that right now we are not having that sustainability, the current way of living? Okay, so you can think about it. Okay, and let me show you this video. I think this is the famous Ustaz. Let's play this video.
Saya sedih tengok. Susah kan? Dengarlah tumbuhan kita kan. Saya sedih tengok kakak ni, tak ada elektrik, tak ada air. Susah ambil air pergi. Macam mana lah anak-anak ni?
You see, this is in Kuantan, Pahang. You see how difficult it is to even to reach that place. So if we are only thinking about ourselves, we are good enough to come to this university to learn something. But what about the people are still there in Malaysia who cannot even afford to go to the primary school, the basic education, and then they are living unsustainably. They don't have the proper water system. They don't have the electric system. They don't have the transportation system. So this is what this video is actually talking about. So the Ustad will go and ask around, and then he will try to find that particular needy people. These are the needy. These are the most needy people. It's not that, but Ustad is actually, alhamdulillah, he's helping. Again, as a human being cannot bring the changes. He can only bring the changes for that moment. What happened tomorrow? What happened next week? What happened next month? So the government should initiate. The government should play the role to sustain their lifestyle. But we are the players here. The government will not go automatically will do the job. Government is not the robot. We are the players, and we need to bring the government sector to meet the requirement, to meet the need of this kind of people. That's why the understanding is important. The social perspective, advocates of sustainable development recognize the social component of development as an essential part of new paradigm. A human development approach emphasizing issues of basic needs and equity is well grounded in the history of economic theory. The interest in human development has had to compete with other priorities and pursuits within the body of mainstream economics. The preoccupation with commodity production, opulence, and financial success can also be traced in economics through several centuries. Indeed, the dominant contemporary tradition of focusing on such variables as per capita gross national product, GNP, or national wealth is a continuation, perhaps even an intensification of the old opulence-oriented approach. Gross-national happiness index in Bhutan as an example of human development. So this is something need to think about it, because when there is a growth is measured, the way that the growth is measured is based on GDP or GNP, domestic product or national product. How much product that a country is exporting. Based on that, a country is labeled as a developing country or developed country or non-developing country. But but that is not the job of the entire citizens of the country, because let's say if we are supplying rubbers and palm oil to all over the world, it doesn't mean that all of us are doing. It's a government sector, a group of people, a group of companies are doing this job. There is no doubt, and because of that the government is getting revenue, but the it will not reflect on the people. That's why there is a country called Bhutan. This country Bhutan is actually just a neighboring country for India. You have India, Kashmir, Nepal, and Bhutan. Bhutan also a neighboring country of China and Tibet. So this country, if you have seen some video, they don't have any products that they send outside. They don't have high buildings. You just need to, because this is our problem today. We think when we are living in a high standard living standard, we are in the modern world. In fact, as I told you earlier, countries are buildings higher and skyrocketing buildings because they are able to take debt from the World Bank, and from there they are actually trying to build. That shows that how much they can attract to tourism, but that's not going to represent the people in the country. Maybe the government can get award or something, but the people are not going to get anything. So in Bhutan there is no skyrocketing buildings. They don't have, like, what we call 3G, 4G, 5G here. They don't have the transportation, like, they don't have even the railway station train. But these people, in fact, even they when they have this farming called sustaining farming, meaning they have this within their household, surrounding by their house, they have their own chicken and goats and milk, and they make their own vegetables and fruits. So that's how they are very happy. At the end of the day, they are the happiest people in the universe. So that's the reason why they are talking about GNHI, Gross National Happiness Index. So sustainable society comes from social equity, economic efficiency, and environmental responsibility. This is also one of the most important slide. You can see here that when you want to go through the social equity, look at the topics that you have. You want to choose social equity, you have living conditions, equal opportunity, social cohesion. These are the topics under society, social. International solidarity, maintenance of human capital. Then you want to talk about economic efficiency. Then you have economic growth, efficiency and competitiveness, flexibility and stability. You have production / consumption, you have employment, and then you have international trade. When it comes to environmental responsibility, you have consumption of resources, materials, and wastes, risk. You have risk in rate of change and the natural and cultural landscape. This is all comes under the environmental responsibility. These are the subtopics for you if you want to, find and also write something. Again, this is the challenges to sustainable development based on the social aspect. You can see here, these are the problems and challenges. You have aging issues, you have a civil society issues, you have cooperatives, disability, employment, family, indigenous people, you have poverty, you have social inclusion, you have youth and their problems. This is all comes under the social aspect. Okay, next move to economic challenges for sustainable development. When we think about the economy, we need to think again, is it our life too economic centric? So which means I need to ask myself, if I don't get my salary by the end of the month, what's gonna be my life? What will happen to my life? Right? So I think you are not in that stage, but the moment that you finish your graduation and then you start looking for the job and you get one, and then you start buying something. Let's say you want to buy your house or apartment, or you want to buy your transportation, your automobile. Now maybe you can think about your parents' life. What will happen if they don't get salary for the month? It will be chaos, right? Because the life is already been structured. For example, I will get the salary, and from the salary I will pay the bills. So our life is full of bills. So I have to pay for the house, I have to pay for the car, I have to pay for the kindergarten, I have to pay for the education, I have to pay for this, pay for that. So when it comes to the end of the month, I don't have any money. So to answer the question is our life too economic centric? Yes, we made ourselves. We all of us made ourselves that without money we cannot move. And the money today became necessity. Without it, it became very, very hard to move. Right? Because we are not because we always require to buy something. We are not making something, we are not creating something. We are too far in creating our own farming. We are too far in growing our own chickens. We are too far um, collecting our own creating or collecting from our own cattles, the milk from the cattles. We are not doing it. So we rely on some market, we rely on some sellers, we rely on some country to import or export. So our life is economic centric. So that's why when we don't have a job, our life is ups and down. We will be working, suddenly our job is not guaranteed, our job is not stable. Let's say a job, someone lose their job because of the pandemic, then everything changed because our life is too economic centric. So let's see this video.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
Okay, you have seen this. This is what we call circular economy, rethinking progress. So this circular economy is actually a quite hot topic, especially in our Faculty of Economics and Management Sciences. As the video said, there was one point I think you noticed. He said it is not about one company applying this method of circular economy. Circular economy has to be applied by everyone, especially the interconnecting companies. Then only it will give you the fruit of, you know, this recycling or upcycling, whatever we call it. And now we what we have to do now, we need to realize this, and we need to, you know, we need to advise, and we need to talk about it. You know, let's say starting from your home. Let me ask you, how many of us used the same washing machine and repair it and then keep it? How many of us use the same phone? It has some problem, but we didn't throw, we used it, but we repaired it, right? So how many of us keep the same car, keep the same motorbike? You know, because these are the biodegradable products. You know what happens, that once if you don't use it and you throw, it will create more problems to the future. So that's why rethinking progress is quite important. The circular economy comes so that, you know, you can, at least if you are having watch, make sure that what part of the watch actually you can take it out, and then you can use that particular product, particular device, or particular part, you can use it for the new one. And then the remaining parts, you can actually recycle it. So it's happening now, because you see the moment that this COVID-19 came, the pandemic, I think every one of us started buying laptops, PC or tab, even sometimes phone. And then we also bought cameras, mics, additional mouse, additional, keyboards. All this has been happening within this last 1 or 2 years. So which means that eventually when we see the new thing, we throw the old thing. But that thing we are throwing, do you know where it goes? After some time, it's been gathered and then it's been dumped countries like in Africa. And people in Africa, they are the non-developed countries. They take it, and then from there they want to, take things from there. They want to remove the necessary or the valuable things from there. And because of the waste, they are also getting disease. People dying because of the cancer. So now our waste, these are the electric waste. These are the e-waste. This is quite dangerous, because these are the waste stages are non-biodegradable. So this is the problem today we have. That's why thinking about a circular economy is quite important. We have to bring that into action.
Living systems have been around.
And there is another one regarding the GDP. Please watch.
Your mic, sir.
Thank you. So now you understood what is GDP. The GDP is actually the government spending and the government income, people spending plus people income, and then the exports plus exports, and then the minus imports. From there, they are actually they are actually calculating this GDP. But the real question is GDP is actually bringing you to the growth? Then if it is bringing you to the growth, what kind of growth actually we are seeking? So that kind of growth is actually bringing more factories, bringing more buildings, bringing more luxury in the country, is actually reducing the resources, reducing the people's spaces, and that's not going to be helping a government to improve. You can call it a developing country, but not developing soul, not developing human being. Spiritually, people are not developing. People are behind the money, and everybody wants to increase the wealth. I mean, giving the resources and increasing the wealth. What do I mean by the wealth? The wealth of currency. What at the end of the day, what you are going to do with the currency? You have tens and thousands of dollars, but is that tens and thousands of dollars can create one leaves of the tree? Cannot create. You can use the money to buy. Buying is actually, it's not creating. You can buy, but can create a drop of water? Can create a flesh? Can create a bird or cattle? It can buy, but when you are buying, it's not creating. It is transferring from one hand to the other hand, which means that the other guy doesn't have it. He won't have it when you are buying. He won't have it. So this is how GDP has been measured for so long, for many decades. Now it looks like it is outdated. Now even the most developed countries, they are not happy. They are not happy. They are not. They are becoming the old country, which means that old citizens. They don't have the young citizens because they are not getting married, for making children, and they are all thinking about only about their life, and they are not actually helping the environment. So that's what happening. So we need to rethink this GDP. GDP is the wrong tool for measuring what matters. Yeah, this is what now even in the World Economic Forum they talked about this. Gross domestic product is almost universally used to gauge how well a society is doing. In fact, it is a measure of market activity, but no more. Right? Because you see, last time there was a 2008 great recession was happening, but they were not able to predict it. Over the past decade, leading scholars have devised a broad set of measures to help steer society towards the futures their citizens desire. So this is all when you think about the selfish, and when you are thinking about your self well-being, not the people's well-being. When you are thinking about your own material life, this is the outcome. This is what happens. So when I think that is it okay for me to be happy buying this, buying that, spending like this, spending like that? If you ask, is it possible? It is possible, but on the other hand, it is also creating harm. That's why the spirituality has to be there with sustainability. The key ideas for sustainable economy: promotion of efficiency and recycling, like what we discussed in circular economy. Source materials, mainly recycled materials. Reduce wastages in production. Packaging and distribution. Economy like an ecosystem. Dematerializing of the economy. So these are the key ideas. This is the circular economy. The idea: refuse, reform, reduce, reuse, recycle. Right? You can see those things, how they are doing. Recycling, designing, protection and information, transportation, distribution, consumption, use, reuse and repair. So we need to bring this lifestyle in our culture. You know, I should say, okay, my jeans that I'm wearing, I can wear it a bit longer. I don't have to throw this. The phone that I'm using, it's okay. I can keep this phone for one more year. It's not a problem. You know, the car I'm using. So these are the things: reusing, keeping that, or recycling. This is quite important. Potential circular economy for food waste. This is actually the project. Actually, we've been doing this. I think still we are doing this. We managed to bring the organic fertilizer from the food waste. So we used to collect food waste from Mahalla, and we have this IIUM green shop, green market, student entrepreneurship incubator, and people from engineering, people from economics. Actually, they are doing this. Okay, the last one. The last one is environmental challenges for sustainable development. This is the engagement question. So you need to ask yourself, what is the latest environmental issue you can recall? I think there are many. You might recall the Sungai, the water, the pollution, the air, the water pollution. Recently we had the air pollution. You know, there are so many things keep on happening. So let's see this video.
Land is being cleared in the Gunung Inas Forest Reserve in Baling Kedah for a suspected durian planting project. Residents of Kampong Iboy near the Baling Gerik border said the land clearing work has marred the area's water resources and its surrounding environment. They also formed a task force to stop the project. They said Gunung Inas is a source of fresh water for them for 4 generations, but it's now tainted with muddy water.
Memang kita agak air ni semua.
Mana sini
Semua air ni. Air ni dia mineral. Dia air yang kita dah pergi test tengok dia boleh mineral. Dari segi jimatnya kos banyak orang kampung bila air ni ada. Tapi hari ni bila kerajaan negeri Kedah buat macam ni kita jadi rasa semua penduduk sini rasa kecewa lah kan. Ceroboh lah dia tak ada bincang dengan kita apa kan. Contoh projek ni jalan je lah. Kau masuk tolak. Beberapa hari lepas saya pergi naik, saya tanya berapa mesin dia ada atas sana, dia kata 10 mesin.
It is learned that the land is owned by the Kedah government's investment arm Menteri Besar Incorporated. The residents said they had written letters to the government but they had yet to receive any reply on the matter.
Jadi saya beberapa kali saya kata tolong beri perhatianlah kepada orang kampung. Jangan kerajaan negeri nak buat projek mega tapi rakyat pemerintah buat apa.
The company behind the durian orchard was awarded the right to operate on the land about 2 years ago. They dismissed the villagers' allegations, saying they had complied with the authorities' requirements. Kedah Forestry Department Director Roslan Rani recently said that the project will continue and the planting of durian trees will only cover a few % of the hill. The Gunung Inas Forest Reserve has been approved as a logging compartment since 2005. Villagers around the area have previously complained about suspected illegal logging activities.
So you can, as you can see, you know, this is again it's happening in Malaysia. This is just one example. So we most of the time we don't see it because we live in a city, or maybe even though we sit in kampong, we don't go that far to see what's happening. A common man from village can understand that if you bring this kind of machines to this forest, it will suffer. The people will suffer because of the reaction comes from the machines, comes from this kind of giant machines. And if they keep on doing this kind of cutting the trees and illegal loggings, then it will create chaos in future. Maybe today we don't see the problem because we see everywhere full of trees, but it has already started happening. We don't see at all. We don't see everywhere. It's happening behind the curtain. It's happening behind. So if we don't realize it and if we don't speak up, if we don't tell the authorities that this is happening, then our future, the country could become another Africa or Somalia. You know, this is how you need to understand. Today Somalia is dry. There is no culture, there is no agriculture farming, there is no agriculture at all in Somalia. That's because they cannot do it. They cannot even grow rice or wheat or dates. But that's not because of the nature of the Somalia. You need to understand, many years ago, Somalia was completely flourishing. The agriculture sector was very good. Because of the lack of the misabuse or abuse of the government, that the government let the foreign countries to come and extract the minerals from the floor, from the ground. You see, when the minerals been taken out from the ground, when the water has been taken out from the ground become fertile. The ground become, become not qualified for agriculture. This is what exactly happened in Somalia. Many years ago, the people were rich. They had enough food they used to supply. But the government, because of the corruption in the government, today the people are suffering. They don't have the proper food. They are being refugees in all over the world. Even mashallah, they are here in Malaysia. They are coming here. The other countries are helping them. The United Nations are helping them as a refugee. But it happened because of the abuse, because the people didn't ask questions to the government when the government letting other people to come to their country, and the extracting the minerals from the country. This is huge. That's why we have to be careful with our country. Wherever you see any extracting minerals that are happening in the country, you should voice out. It's for the welfare of your country and for your own people. This is another example for recycling myth.
We throw out around 180 tons of plastic a year, and only 9% of that is recycled. To make matters worse, we only recycle half of that in domestic recycling plants. The rest is sent to Asia.
Recycle it. Bottles and cans. Recycle it. Lend a hand.
Since the introduction of curbside recycling in the 1980s, recycling has been hailed as the answer to our environmental woes. And while the system was never perfect, it evolved into a vast global economy worth around $200 billion. For 3 decades, the US sent ships full of plastic waste to China. Chinese plants would then recycle this waste to use in the production of new products. For the US, this was cheaper than recycling domestically. And for China, there was a high demand from the booming manufacturing sector. But on December 31st, 2017, China suddenly closed its borders to 24 categories of recyclable waste. It threw the US into a recycling crisis. As China's economy had grown, it began producing more virgin plastic and had more plastic of its own to recycle. No longer did it need to import plastic waste, and high-income countries that had relied on China for decades had a big problem.
Towns are struggling to deal with piles of plastic, paper, scrap metal, and other materials with no clear destination.
The move has created a crisis for recyclers here, now facing mountains of materials they can't get rid of.
In response, the US, Europe, and Japan began distributing plastic waste to a wider net of poor countries. And basically overnight, Southeast Asian nations became the world's largest importers of plastic scrap. From January to November 2018, Malaysia imported about 435 million pounds of plastic scrap, just from the US. Imports of plastic trash doubled in Vietnam and increased by a whopping 1,370% in Thailand. This massive increase in waste imports has left countries like Malaysia scrambling and overwhelmed. A University of Georgia study found that Malaysia mismanaged 55% of its own plastic waste. These inefficiencies have only been magnified as imports have increased.
The plastic that cannot be recycled, you will just end up in open burning, also dump it in some rural area, such as some landfill.
Heng Kia Chun is a Greenpeace activist based in Malaysia. He sees the effects firsthand.
And that is why it causes water and also soil pollutions. In some illegal facility that processing plastic waste, local community members were complaining about the increased risk of the air pollutions because the illegal operator didn't complying with all these environmental regulations.
The result has been devastating on local towns. Illegal factories burn non-recyclable waste by the container, filling the air with toxic chemicals like mercury, dioxins, and polychlorinated biphenyls. Residents in Jerome told BBC they experienced rashes and violent coughing attacks. The Malaysian government has been cracking down on these factories, but in their wake, mountains of trash remain, seeping into the soil and contaminating waterways, like this one outside of Kuala Lumpur. In January 2020, Malaysia said that they had had enough. Malaysian Environmental Minister Yao Yin said that they were going to send plastic shipping containers back to the US.
There are people that would like to see this as the rubbish downside of the world you dream on. So we will send back.
As of January 20th, 2020, Malaysia had sent 150 containers back to their 13 countries of origin since the third quarter of 2019. For a long-term solution, Malaysia is backing a 2018 proposal from Norway that aims to add plastic scrap to the list of materials covered by the Basel Convention. The 1992 treaty regulates the movement of hazardous waste between countries. It was specifically designed to prevent developed countries from sending their waste to less developed countries. But plastic waste isn't on the list. Experts say that the recycling crisis has been a much-needed reality check for Americans. Shipping containers full of waste arriving on our shores could force the American government to reinvest in domestic recycling and instate further anti-plastic legislation.
So in order to solve this crisis, we really need to go upstream and already start thinking about, how do we even bring products to people without creating all of this waste?
Sarah Wingstrand is a program manager for the New Plastics Economy at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation.
Today, we design super complicated plastic packaging. So we might even have several types of layers of different materials, different types of plastic all glued together. We need to fundamentally rethink how we create or make the plastic in the first place in order to make sure that it actually can be kept in loop.
The world's recycling economy has been forever changed. No longer can nations turn a blind eye to the plastic waste that piles up in faraway landfills. After decades of recycling campaigns that have failed to get people to recycle more, high-income nations need to take responsibility for their own mess. We throw out around 180.
So we watched this. I think this is really scary, isn't it? The way that they have documented. Definitely, it was not documented in Malaysia. It was documented in some other country. It could be US or UK. They can see what's happening in Malaysia. Why is it that we cannot see ourselves? A foreign country can talk about what's happening in Malaysia, but we local people, we don't talk about it. So this is the reason why we have to be vigilant, we have to be conscious, we have to ask questions if there is something wrong happening. Most of the time we think that it is not my job to ask questions, it is not my responsibility. And see, this is what happening, this is what will happen. So we have enough our own plastic waste But now other countries are sending their wastages to our country, and we have business people who are happily receiving those things. They are the culprits, receiving those things, and then they are making money out of it. So this is total corruption, right? So now we understood, now we can see all this. So at least we realize now. I think you can also, when you watch something, for example, when you watch a YouTube video or Netflix or any cinema or whatever it is you are watching, now you can clearly see the way that they consume. And then when you watch those things, don't just watch it for entertainment purpose. Try to learn from that video how much resources they are wasting, and what they could have done better, what I myself can learn from that video. So this is all giving you a new perspective. I think that's the reason why we are running this class. Yeah, every single plastic that we are using, I think I told you this before, I tell you again, when I pay 1 ringgit for mineral water, I'm actually not paying money for water, because water is something that no one can create. It is what God has gifted us. So they are only transferring the water into a plastic bottle, and then you are paying 1 ringgit actually for the carrier of the water, which is the plastic bottle. So now I drink the water, which I didn't pay for the water, but I pay for that 1 ringgit, which is a plastic, and then I throw away. I throw, and then I make that into landfill. And then that landfill is actually causing problem to the environment. If that plastic goes to the water, goes to the sea, anything that eats, just imagine how many tons of plastics so far I have used since the day of beginning. I mean, since the day that I was born. How many tons of plastics I have used? How many tons of plastic bags I have thrown? Did I worry about, did I worry about the environment? So this is a question every one of us should ask. So now we need to think about it. So if I go and I buy something, if they are giving you the plastic, you said, okay, I don't need plastic. I have my own bag. Right? Like last time we talked about, even the suppliers, the one who are delivering to you the food. If there is a way of requesting not to bring plastic, you should do it. The buying stuff. So this is something we don't have to wait until someone or some scholar come and tell haram. We don't have to wait until they give you fatwa to throw this is haram. We can understand it is even larger than haram. This is actually going to spoil our lifestyle, is going to spoil the future, which means that our own children will get will be the part of this, will be part of these problems. They will face the consequences, and we won't be there to answer to them, and they will be like, they will be thinking about us. They will be thinking about that why we didn't stop this at the first place. So I think that's why it is quite an important issue to think about it, and we need to have this observation, and we need to be the vigilant. We need to also realize, and we need to be conscious, and we need to tell everywhere, starting from our own family. They go to Pasar Ramadan, tell your mom, tell your father, tell your sister, bring your own bag. Let's say now after this you are going to Pasar Ramadan, starting from today, bring your own bag, your own cloth or cloth bag or whatever it is, and then you put everything there without plastic. Yeah, inshallah, let's see what you can do. So these are the estimated decomposition rates. The papers for 2 weeks to 4 weeks, and then the leaves for 3 months, And then the peels, the oranges, oranges peels, the fruits for 6 months, the milk carton for 5 years, the plastic bags for 20 years. Can you believe? Aluminium can, 400 years. Plastic, this plastic ring, that comes with the bottles. It takes 500 years. Plastic bottles will take 500 years. Glass bottles, glasses will take 500 years or forever, maybe forever. That thing, the last one is the dangerous one. The styrofoam. The styrofoam never decompose, never ever decompose. This is a dangerous thing. So, but most of us still using it to drink. We buy because it's quite cheap in the market. So we have to be very, very careful. Okay, these are the unsustainable exploitation of resources, and you will see there's 40% of global economy is dependent on biologically derived. 70 to 100 species disappearing every single day. 17 million hectares of tropical forest destroyed each year. So this is all happening. It's a water pollution, it's a soil pollution because of that. So there is a need for sustainable development, climate change, scarcity of resources, and also over exploitation of natural resources. The humanity takes more than the earth can provide. This is what we are actually dealing with the world. We are actually fighting against the universal resources, the resources of the universe. We are fighting against it. We actually looking for more, but the universe is giving what it used to give, but we wanted more. It's like when there is a story like this one, the golden egg. The duck used to give the golden egg. Every single day it gives you gold egg, and then one day a crazy guy wanted to take everything, and then he killed the duck, and he wanted to take all the golden eggs inside. He was stupid, right? He has to wait until it comes, but he was stupid. The stupid, crazy story. So we cannot take more than what Earth can provide, and if we keep on doing what we are doing, this is what will happen. This is the cartoon. Will tell you exactly what's going to happen if we doing what we are doing now. If we are keep on doing, if we didn't change our lifestyle, if we are just enjoying what we are doing today, this will be the real story. Today this is cartoon, tomorrow it will be the original image. Good news, at the current rate of global warming, we should be able to just swim over there and eat him in under 5 years. So in 5 years the shark will go there because the water will go down. So you have to be careful. Yeah, okay, then that's all from me.